Over the last few months, there's been concerns about digital ID after digital ID being something that could be mandatory going forward, being mentioned for different things like proof for when you get a new job and other things. People have been concerned about privacy amongst other things. But one thing, much of the concern is privacy as well as other things. But we've seen cases where data has been stolen, leaked, hacked, and other things. And now all of a sudden people want to put so much vital, important data digitally where it can be vulnerable to be hacked, stolen, leaked, sold, and other things. And now we have news. This is from a BBC News article online. Burnham to scrap digital ID to focus on cost of living in first major policy pledge. Andy Burnham will scrap plans for a government-issued digital ID for all British adults when he becomes Prime Minister on Monday. The move, which follows plans for new oil and gas drilling in the North Sea, will shift focus to the daily priorities facing people across the country, Burnham's office said. Under Sir Keir Starmer, the government had already watered down proposals to introduce a mandatory digital ID for workers in the UK. Now, by dropping the plans entirely, Burnham's spokesperson said the time and resource that was going to be spent on a national ID scheme will go instead to where it's most needed, such as helping with the cost of living. You can read the rest of the article online, and this is something that is positive. And of course, people will say, and maybe it could be true, that this is something that's being said now, and maybe later on at some point it could be something that's done at a later point. Also, it could be because this is something that he's saying to get people on board, particularly as he's going to be newly leading the country, and of course he wants people on board and supporting him and all the other things. So it could be that. I'm not saying it is that, but it could be that. But hopefully it's not, and hopefully not just things like digital ID, but other things are reversed that were said to be happening. But it does look positive. But also at the same time, I don't particularly think people should be supporting the Labour Party, particularly if you're supporting Palestine and or you're a Muslim. Because just because you got a new leader doesn't mean that now they're a completely new party. They're not. And that doesn't mean specifically to what the ideas about governing the UK, but particularly in terms of Palestine, not much has changed. If anything, has even changed at all. And we know the links Andy Burnham has to Israel, whether directly or indirectly, and also in the past, some of the links and roles he's had. Also, if I'm not mistaken, as far as I'm aware, when he spoke about this, he couldn't say what was happening was genocide. He couldn't say it, or he didn't want to say it. So I will praise the good things that he does, and does, like I have done with other people in the past, like Keir Starmer and others, but doesn't mean that necessarily we should be supporting them or voting for them.